Hi everyone, this is Gary Wilson and welcome to this week's live webinar for investor agents. Whether you're an investor or an agent, many of you have come through several programs, mainly the investor agent program. A lot of you have come through flipping for profits, rental profits without the pain, and turning rental problems into real estate profits, and also wholesaling for everybody wins. So welcome aboard. Also, for all the new folks, if this is your first webinar, you're going to recognize a few things. Number one is you're by default in mute mode. That's a system function because we generally have a lot of people on these, and it would be quite difficult to have everybody live on audio. So we use the question box for you to type in your questions. From time to time, I will unmute you. Okay, in fact, we may do that tonight based on tonight's subject matter. If anybody wants to do a quick role play or something like that on me, okay, I'll be the subject and you can test out one of these language patterns. I don't mind doing that, but we'll try to get through them first. We'll describe them and then we'll see if we have time to do some role playing. This is recorded, so the next day you'll get the recording of this. So if you're listening to this in a recorded mode after today, obviously it's being recorded for you. They are all housed on the silver level membership section of the My Investment Services website. All of you, if you're on here, you should have silver level status, okay? And go ahead and you have access to these. You can save them and download them and keep them forever, actually, okay? So a couple things. Definitely always look for the email that comes out from Beverly the very next day because it not only gives you the recording, it gives you instructions on schedules for upcoming webinars. It gives you instructions on things that we're improving and changing in the system, either on the platform or in the material. Okay, seems like we're always making some type of a modification. Also, if you're new, please create your profile on the silver level membership section. It's a separate site that the instructions drive you to, and you definitely want to do that. And if you speak a foreign language, absolutely put that out there. Okay. So in any case, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started here, guys. First things first, we did have a question. Let's see. Oh, Shireen says she'll be a guinea pig. Thank you, Shireen, for volunteering. Okay, excellent. I want to go back to Lisa can hear now. That's wonderful. Thank you, Lisa. All right, so this is for Michael. Okay, Michael was asking, would like to ask about how I can work with referrals from other agents, either within my brokerage or without my brokerage. He happens to be a Keller Williams guy. And we do have people on here from multiple brokerage companies. So welcome aboard, everybody. And as far as this goes, so Michael, there's two directions. One direction is you're sending a referral out, okay? And you can send a referral to any agent who's licensed anywhere, basically in the country, and actually, believe it or not, other countries too, okay? We have a lot of people on here from Canada as well. I'll be in Canada the month of August teaching the 3 different weeks. I was there 2 years ago for 4 or 5 weeks, I think. But in any case, generally what you do is if you're not familiar with someone in the area where you need to send a referral, the first thing I would do is go to the community site and see if we have an investor agent in that area. And the only states I have not been in the U.S. are Alaska, Hawaii, let's see, Washington, which is next week, Montana, which is going to be, let's see, the week after that, and the week after that will be North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, and Iowa, and that's pretty much all 50 states. I have taught in several of the Canadian provinces. I have not spoken in British Columbia, but I'll be doing that probably next year. In any case, we should have investor agents out there, Michael, in any of those regions, okay? Now, I suggest you use them. Us, that's who we are, we're investor agents, because they're a little more highly trained, more specifically trained to work with investors. So you can locate them directly. There's a form generally you'll get from each office, like a referral form. Your office should have one. You can actually go online and find one through your brokerage company. Also, the receiving brokerage company, you should have a form there, okay? Just make sure when you send a referral out, you first get it agreed upon verbally, then you send the form over, have them signed, and at that point you provide the contact information for the referral and your agreed upon referral rate. Typically it's 25%, okay? So you have that in writing, and then you just have to follow up. I mean, at some point they're gonna get something in their contract, they'll get it closed, and the only way you get paid is if you make sure that that becomes part of the closing. In other words, on the closing document, you can either have it there, what we used to call the HUD-1, it's called something different now, or the agreement with that the other brokerage company's office, that when that commission is earned, when they cut a check to that agent, they also cut you your portion of that same fund. Okay. All right. Now on the receiving end, you can likewise receive commissions or referrals from anybody in any company, basically. And you should, again, the same thing, have a form that's written out. Most offices have them pre-printed. They're also online on your office websites. Okay, you just print those off, get them signed. Just as my quick little bit of a tidbit here, guys, no matter where I'm sending one to or receiving one from, I always like to have the office managers sign off on the referral, okay, on both ends. Because if there's ever a challenge, like say they close this property and they completely forget about you, okay, well, that broker signed off on that. It doesn't mean they're legally going to have to give you your referral fee, but it gives you a much better chance of collecting. I'm just telling you that because it could happen. I've never had it happen to me, but I've had other agents that it happened to. It just, they gave a referral and the thing never panned out for like a year. And the other agent just completely forgot about it, you know, and they cashed your check and you find out through the grapevine your client got their property and you didn't get paid. If you have brokers, both managers sign off on it, they can often agree on how to compensate you. Okay, so just remember that. Good question. Well, let's see if there's other questions before we get into tonight's content. Let's see. Okay, this is we got Michael's question, I think. Okay, Michael's asking, they have investors they want to bring to me. Yeah, so I would tomorrow, Michael, just or tonight, if you want to log onto your office website, see if they have a form, a preprint, a form that's basically boilerplate that you can download and send to them. They, generally speaking, their referring agent is the one who's sending you the form. Okay, they should be sending you a form that you agree upon the compensation, and then they will provide you the contact information for that client. Okay. So that's how that works. Now, some of you are probably wondering, okay, what if it's an investor and they buy multiple properties? Two schools of thought. School of thought number one is my school of thought, which is what I've seen happen most typically, is when I send a referral out and they're an investor client, and I send it, say, to you, Michael, I will ask for a referral fee on the first property that person buys, okay? And if you've done a good job and that client decides to keep using you in that area, I think you've earned the right to those commissions without having to pay a referral fee after the first one. That's my personal philosophy. It may sound generous to some of you, but I've done it both ways and it works well. My philosophy is you pay on the first one. If you earn the right to earn more commissions from that client, you've earned that right. Okay, I gave you the first one, but you got all the others on your own. I do know agents who will want to collect a referral fee on every property that the person they refer to you purchases or sells. Okay, it's just, again, it's just a matter of philosophy. I don't agree with that, but it doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just my personal philosophy. So the good news is you get to choose which way you want to go with it. And if you're working with another agent and you're in disagreement, I suggest you work toward compromise, or you can maybe ask your brokers for their opinions, and they'll tell you what their opinions are. I will tell you, for the most part, most people will just want to collect on the first one. It's sort of the honor system. Quite frankly, if I'm working with a client, I got him in the first property, like, hey, we really like you, want to keep using you, I earned that right. So that's my philosophy, and that's why. So, in any case, hope that helps you there. I'm going to go into the content here, guys, so let's do that. And Michael, you're very welcome. Okay, first things first. All right, I'm going to give you a little bit of a background here, guys, so please get your pens and pencils out. And what I'm showing on my screen now, I'm going to actually send you, I'll have Beverly send it out to you, excuse me, with these are language patterns. I'm going to describe them tonight, okay? So as I go through them, I want you to take notes. Now, just a little bit of background, right? These, well, at least the majority of these, all the way up to where it says the more UX, the less UI, okay? This right here, that one. Up to this point, these all come from the military world, all right? And they work very well. And in fact, if you've ever taken a class called The Language of Sales, there was a guy named Joel Rico used to teach that. That is a very awesome class, okay? Language of Sales, awesome class. The examples he provides a lot of times come from the world of the military. And if you think about military folks, some of their basic qualities and beliefs for top military recruiters are, and number one is they love a challenge, okay? Military guys love a challenge. They're committed to what they're doing. They actually do really believe in what they're doing, and they're committed to it. And number three is they like the people they're dealing with. In fact, they're recruiting other military folks to join basically a community that they're already involved in, okay? So in any case, if any of you have ever enlisted before, you can think about that recruiting experience, okay? And they're persuasive. I mean, they have to be. I mean, here's the deal. They're trying to recruit people, okay, into a field that is known for really not paying that well. It's difficult to be in the military. I mean, it's physically demanding. It's mentally demanding. It's emotionally demanding, okay? I mean, a lot of times you're away from your families for long periods of time. They're asking for a 4-year commitment, okay? During this time, you literally give up your freedom. It's the biggest irony in most countries is that when you sign up with the military, you're actually giving up your freedom, and for other people to have freedom. Okay, it's just a big irony. So, and whether you like it or not, for those 4 years, if you just serve 4 years, you got to get used to people telling you what to do all the time. Okay. In any case, it's just kind of a big irony, but the way these guys work, military recruiters, there's like they're selling a product that requires a great deal, of course, of physical commitment and training. We talked about the pay that doesn't pay that well, that there's lots of drawbacks, but they succeed, okay, and these guys really believe in what they do. The military patterns, these are called linguistic patterns, okay, these are language patterns, all right, they're simple, they're easy to follow, you basically, they allow you to place your outcome and deal with objections easily and quickly in a very, very fluid way, all right. They work, and people in all forms of life use them, in businesses all over the place. They all follow these military patterns. If they only work, this is very important, they only work if you first establish rapport. Actually, I want to type this up here because this is really important. Must establish, right, rapport first. And I don't know how I spelled rapport wrong, but I got some spelling wrong there. So in any case, let's just leave that there for now. Actually, there's another one down here. So you must establish rapport first. Actually, there it is. It's A and P. There we go. I'm not worried about it right now. The bottom line is this. Actually, I know what I did wrong. I'm thinking French here. Let's see. There it is. Okay, rapport. All right. You must establish rapport first. If you don't establish rapport first, there's nothing I can teach you that will work. In other words, what we're doing here is we're not actually trying to trick people or fool people or any kind of thing like that at all. What we're doing is we're understanding how the human mind works, all right? And one of the fundamental things is people will listen to you if you've already established rapport. If you have not established rapport, they will not listen to you. Doesn't matter what language patterns you use, they're just not going to work. Okay, so you always establish rapport. I know it sounds obvious, but the fact is a lot of people tend to be hasty. A lot of the high D types on the disc profile would just jump right in and ignore rapport. People who are like a high I, they're very good at establishing rapport. High C's, generally, it depends on if they have enough I in them, they can do it. And the high S's, they're more quiet, and they're going to let you do all the talking. Okay, but one of the key factors in being able to persuade people to work with you is you've got to establish rapport, and you've got to also do more listening. You've actually got to listen more than you talk. So you basically start with questions. Okay, and by the way, always remember, this is a little add-on here tonight. Okay, but always remember this. Um, the basic who, what, where, when, why, and how are must do questions. You can't. What you don't want to do is ask a lot of closed-end questions, which is questions that only require a yes or no answer. Okay. Um, you have to start with open-ended questions. Okay. Um, let's see here. Let's get into this a little bit. All right. So first things first. You're looking for basically you're tapping into someone's values when you're working with them. You're basically tapping into emotional outcomes. They're the feelings and benefits you want the other person to experience. So let's go into the first pattern here. This is called the have you found pattern. Okay. Are you using this phrase constructing a question that contains or leads to your outcome? There's some outcome you're looking for. Okay. So let's look at some examples here. For the military, right? Let's assume back to the military recruiting. This is something a military recruiter might say, right? Have you found that in order to get jobs that you want, you have to have the skills and training that are needed, okay? You can jot that down if you want, and while you're jotting these down, think of examples in real estate, okay? And if we have time, we'll come back and revisit some of these and maybe do some role playing. So in any case, if you think about that question, have you found that in order to get the jobs you want, you have to have the skills and training that are required, that are needed, is basically a yes. The answer is yes. Now, I know I just told you use open-ended questions, and that's true, but during these language patterns, some of these are basically designed to lead a person down a particular path to reach a certain outcome. So the exception is when you're using language patterns, often they are yes or no answers, okay? So in any case, of course the answer is yes to that. Everybody realizes you got to have the right skills and training to get the job you want, okay? And the recruiter then might say something like this, but you're in a catch-22, you can't get the job without the training. Then how do you're going to get the training, okay? Which is also true, right? After that, if I was a recruiter, I'd follow up with this. I'd say, have you found a real urge to accomplish something in your life, something that has meaning? In our case, maybe that's investing in real estate, okay? Something that's bigger than you. Now, as you think about that, let me show you how your participation, in this case in the military service, right, is going to help you get the training you need to really make a difference. Now, if that was real estate, we could say something like this, all right? Have you found that in order to, invest properly, you need to have the right skills and training to do that? The answer, of course, is yes, okay? Then I follow up and say, okay, well, there's a catch-22 here. The bottom line is to get the right training, you have to find the right teacher, and generally you have to compensate them. A lot of people try to figure this out on their own, and they end up stumbling and making mistakes and taking forever to succeed. So the bottom line is how are you going to get the training if you don't actually put a little money into your own investing into yourself? And that's the catch-22. A lot of people say, I don't have money. But the bottom line is you won't succeed if you don't have the right education, the right information, and the proper action, okay? So in any case, I want to take a quick pause here and make sure everyone is okay, but I'm going to also check for questions. So let's see here. Okay, all right, Fassel's saying to Michael, find me on Facebook. We can switch referrals. Fassel Khan from New Jersey. So I guess, Michael, you were working with Fassel. Good job, because he's a good guy. Okay, so that's back to the referral questions. Let's get back here. So far, we went over the first language patterns, which is have you found. So show of hands, or if you guys could type in a quick hand raise, just say, yes, Gary, I understand the pattern, the have you found pattern. And what I would like you to do is write down an example. You don't have to do it right now, okay, but write down an example of a pattern you can use relative to real estate. In other words, in your case, working with clients, and maybe you're trying to establish a relationship, and maybe they're hesitant or they don't know why they should use you, okay? You could use the pattern I just gave you and maybe somewhat paraphrase it to customize it for yourself. So please make a note that you should be doing that, okay? Let's see other questions here. If somebody's audio is going out here. Everybody else seems to be okay. I'm not sure why that's happening. Looks like it's at 98% now, so that's pretty good. So, okay, let's see. Michael, yes, Gary, I understand. Have you found question phrasing? Thank you. Okay, you're very welcome. All right, let's do this. Let's go on to another language pattern. I mean, I could give you all kinds of examples there, but I think you get the gist, right? The next one is, would it be fair to say? Okay, now again, if you think about this language pattern and all these language patterns, they actually are they're almost like common sense. Like you might think, okay, Gary, well, these are common sense. They make sense. Well, that's true. The challenge is being cognizant and aware of them when you're in conversation with a prospect. It's easier when you're writing emails. It's easier when you're writing copy for an ad or for a marketing piece, because it's one directional. You have time to think and prepare. The challenge is when you're in a live conversation, and that's why we do a lot of role playing, guys, because you got to be able to think on your feet. So the challenge is this: not just learning these patterns, but being able to recall them when you're actually in a conversation live with somebody. So in any case, the very next one is this. First off, write down whatever outcomes you're looking for, and remember this. You're looking for a certain result from working with a prospect. Okay, you want them to commit to working with you, for example. You want them to commit to buying a duplex or buying a flip or whatever, or selling their property, for example. Okay, but really what you're really looking for, guys, is an emotional outcome. Okay, people always make decisions. We're all wired exactly the same. We all make decisions based on emotions first. Okay. Then we back it up with logic and rationale, okay? So I want you to write down what emotional outcomes you're looking for. A little bit of a challenge here. So, maybe write down 4 of them. As a matter of fact, I would write down, let's challenge you. I want to have you write down at least 3 outcomes that you're looking for on a regular basis in your business, okay? All right, now the next one is this. Would it be fair to say, let's get back to this, right? This type of question allows you to lead the conversation because you insert your outcome in the form of a question, okay? So for example, let's go back to the military recruiter, all right? Would it be fair to say, so here it is, would it be fair to say that you really want to improve your life, right? Now, remember the question is not do you want to improve your life, the question is would it be fair to say? All right, so the way the human brain works is there's 2 basic parts, the conscious and the subconscious. All right, the conscious is looking at improve your life. The subconscious is looking at would it be fair to say. All right, and of course the answer is yes, it would be fair to say. I mean, who wouldn't want to improve your life? But what I'm getting at here is you're actually appealing to both parts of the mind. Okay, the conscious and the subconscious. And both are positive, right? Everybody wants to improve their life, and it certainly would be fair to say that. So let's look at another example. Would it be fair to say that you really want to take control of your life, that you want to have a sense of control, of discipline, to really build your life, to really make it worthwhile, okay? And that's a loaded statement there. But remember, this is the example of a military recruiter sitting in front of a potential recruit, all right? The one thing that they may have an objection to is have any sense of discipline. You've got some rebels in the world, but most people who have struggled early on, getting in trouble, not doing well in high school, and so forth and so on, they know they got a problem with discipline. And a lot of people go into military because they believe, well, this is where I'll learn some discipline. A lot of parents think the same thing. So in any case, another thing, another possibility, let's just think about real estate, all right? Would it be fair to say that if you had income-producing assets in your investment portfolio, that you would be able to achieve financial freedom, all right? Now, obviously, we want them to achieve financial freedom. We want them to acquire income-producing assets. But the real question is, again, would it be fair to say? And again, most people would say yes to that. So subconsciously, they're saying yes. Yeah, that's fair to say that. The front part of the brain that's the aware part, is the part that says, yeah, I want some income producing assets. I want passive cash flow. I want financial freedom. So what I want you to do again is write down some possibilities here, all right? And the fact is, if you write this down tonight, guys, I mean, don't just let me go through this and talk about this. I'm going to pause and give you guys time to write down the phrase, would it be fair to say, and you fill in the blank. Just come up with one right now, and then right after you write the one, write this. Come up with two more. I want you to come up with at least three for each of these, okay? I want you to get in the habit, get in the pattern of actually using this. I mean, would it be fair to say if you use these patterns, you might have greater success in your real estate business? I like that one. I just used it on you. So definitely write them down. That's the key thing here is you definitely want to write these down. All right, so let me go back here. And I'm going to, by the way, these patterns, I'm going to gradually increase the complexity of them throughout the next half hour. We're starting off with the simple ones now, then I'm going to gradually increase the complexity, okay? All right, so this is from Melinda. Melinda is asking, so on this one, fill in the blank with the emotional wish and possibly tie it to a desired outcome, just like you did in that example. Absolutely. So again, Melinda's got to hit the nail on the head. It's an emotional outcome you're looking for, all right? And the way the sentence is structured is you have to have something tangible there, something that appeals to the conscious mind. So consciously, they're just simply saying yes to, would it be fair to say? Consciously, the emotional part is yes, I want financial freedom, right? So that's what you're doing there, okay? So very excellent, Melinda. I appreciate you bringing that up, okay? So let's see, Melinda is providing, looks like an example here. Okay, would it be fair to say, give the emotional hook, yep, in parentheses, and then parentheses, tied to an action I can provide to help them get the hook accomplished? Yes, that's exactly right. So Melinda, it sounds like you've studied these before. If you ever had that class, language sales, that we get into a lot of this. And I've studied a lot of other books. I like the military patterns because, quite frankly, you know, if those guys can get positive, if they can elicit positive responses from people that join the military, man, that stuff should work in any industry. That's why we use it in the auto industry, the housing industry, the banking industry. You'll find these patterns in a lot of material, a lot of copy that's put out from all these different industries. So in any case, when I'm working with clients, particularly when I'm teaching a class to investors, you know, I'm trying to determine who are the ones who really are ambitious, they're teachable, they're coachable, and they really do. I mean, they're action takers. They're not the kind of people that sit back and wait for life to happen to them. They're actually making life happen. And I can use these patterns in a classroom setting with full of investors to determine who those people are. And it's not everybody. In other words, this isn't like the magic pill that's going to get you to a 100% conversion rate. This is the magic pill that's going to help you determine who the 20% are that is going to actually respond and help you get to that as quickly as possible, but more importantly, as ethically as possible, okay, and honorably. You don't want to convert just any 20%. You only want the 20% who are the ones who are most likely to succeed at what you're working with them with, in this case, real estate investing, okay? So in any case, exercise, write down emotional outcomes and then write down 3 specific ways you can use this pattern to create them. You don't have to write all 3 right now. I just want you to write the instruction. The instruction is write down your emotional outcomes, and then tomorrow or tonight or later on, write down some 3 specific examples, okay? And this is what's going to help you learn these patterns. Okay, so this is, Michael's got a question here. Let me go back to the beginning, Michael. Okay, would it be fair to say that if a particular agent performed well initially in your program, that he would be an asset to you and you would provide more detailed and structured guidance? Well, actually, the way it works, Michael, is you definitely want to use time trade to schedule time with me. I will tell you that it's almost like an implied truth that the more you engage, in other words, what you get out of something is directly related to what you put into it. So the fact that you're participating allows me more opportunity to guide you through the material. So it definitely is. I mean, you got to meet me halfway, no doubt about it. So it would be fair to say, yes, that if, as you participate the more you participate, the more opportunity I have to guide you and work with you in a a bilateral agreement here, basically. So it's not one directional, it's two directional. So thank you for that comment, by the way. Okay, so let's go on to the next thing, but just remember, just a quick emphasis here. Remember, people take action because of emotions, not thoughts. People take action because of emotions, not thoughts, okay? And again, the more you're into the business, whatever business you're in, and it doesn't matter what business you're in, even if you're a stay-at-home parent, we have one of our students who's a stay-at-home dad. Believe me, he's got to be able to persuade his spouse and his children to do certain things to make his life easier, okay? And language patterns helps. This isn't just something we use to sell people. This is something we can use in every walk of life, okay? So let me see here. Dennis is, hang on one second. This is Dennis. Mature. Hi, Dennis. Okay, would it be fair to say if you had someone show you the route to successful real estate investing, you would be ready to start tomorrow? Hey, Dennis, that's a good one. You're actually using, you're actually thinking ahead. There's something more I'll get to here, but later. But you're tapping into that already, so that's good. You've got the hang of it. And I would definitely use that in a workshop scenario. I would use it in a phone conversation. I don't know that I would put that in printed material, unless it's like an email marketing piece. Okay, something like that. That would probably work. Okay, so let's do the next one here, guys, which is called Just Suppose. All right, I know it sounds obvious, but it's a pretty awesome pattern. When you have someone who is willing to say, or willing to just suppose, quote unquote, that you have them essentially in you've got them where you want them. You've got them in rapport already. They're assuming, they just suppose whatever it is, when they suppose something, they're going to basically, I wouldn't say do anything you want them to, but essentially go where you want them to go emotionally, okay, in their decision-making process. And why does this work? Because they simply are just supposing whatever it is you're saying is true, okay? So in any case, whoever it is you're working with, just have them suppose not only your outcome, but also the positive feelings associated with it, all right? Remember, people make decisions based on emotions, not just logic or rationale or facts. They're taking action based on emotions, not just thoughts, essentially, is what I'm saying here. So keep that in mind, okay? And so if that's the case, you want to appeal to multiple senses that evoke feelings, smell, taste, touch, okay? Hearing, all the different senses, those are the things that evoke emotional responses, okay? And you want them to make them positive, which they should be, all right? So in any case, you always have to develop rapport first. Again, every one of these you have to develop rapport first, okay? And if you're really paying attention and doing a good job of listening, which is really our main function here, is listening to our prospects, they're going to tell you really what their deepest values are and what really motivates them, okay? So in any case, let's look at an example. Let's go back to the military folks. Okay, so here's an example. Just suppose for a moment that you've worked really hard to get out of your basic training, that you're in the best shape of your life, that you have a sense of pride and accomplishment about everything you've done, and as you think back on that and you knew it was tough and you overcame it with the support of the people that are there to help you, that feels pretty good, doesn't it? Now that's a long one there, but here's what you're doing. If you notice, Dennis's prior example ended with a question, which is almost uncanny because this is what the next example was. So that's why I was saying, Dennis, you're actually jumping ahead. That shows engagement. So I'm pleased that you're so fully engaged here. So in any case, back to the pattern. Just suppose, all right, and you're given examples of things for them to suppose. These are basically truths, okay? If they improve themselves physically, would they not have a sense of pride? Would they not have a sense of pride if they improve themselves financially? So in the case of real estate, just suppose for a moment that you did invest in real estate. And this next year you bought 3 duplexes, okay? Bringing in an additional $1,200 a month in positive cash flow, all right? Now, thinking back on that experience, knowing that it's not going to be easy, you know, it's just there's fear involved. There's financial challenges. There's all kinds of challenges, you know. But assuming you actually did that, supposing you actually did that, does that feel pretty good? So that's the example we can use in real estate. So let me do a quick pause here and check and see what good. We got some feedback on that one already. Okay. Let's see. That was. Okay, that was Mark. Let me go back to, I think we got Dennis, so let me look at Mark's here. Hi, Mark. This is Mark Hamilton. Okay, language patterns to learn more. Okay, I got to the end of it. Let's go to the front of it. Is there a good book on military language patterns to learn more? Mark, let me see what I can dig up. I travel constantly now, so my library, I've got over 3,000 books, and I bet you I've probably got maybe a half dozen just specifically on the subject of military language patterns. I've probably got 1 to 2 dozen books on the subject in general, language patterns in general. Okay, so this is an example from Mark. Okay, let's go back to Mark's beginning of Mark's example. Okay, just suppose I could show you how to create enough passive income to retire from your job. Would you commit to doing what I suggest? Just suppose that I could show you how to create enough passive income to retire from your job. Would you commit to doing what I suggest? That actually got repeated, but yes, Mark, you've got the right idea. Okay, this is from Brian Cardos. Hey, Brian. Okay, Brian is proposing this. Okay, just suppose we work together on just one deal. Would you now want to get started? That's pretty good, Mark, but what I would do is I would put something a little more appealing in there. Just suppose let's say this, just suppose we work together and that resulted in you acquiring your first duplex, producing $12,000 in equity and $6,000 a year in passive income. All right. Would you now want to get started? Now that would be a pretty good pattern. Okay. Let's see here. Shireen is suggesting or typing in. Okay, it seems like there's a golden hook in the question that would apply to almost everyone, provided you know at least one detail about that person. Excellent, Shireen. So yes, again, this goes back to building rapport. Now, if you think about this, guys, we're not really using these patterns unless we already have contact with someone. In other words, we've sent out a marketing piece, the booklet, for example. We had them in a workshop, and they raised their hand and said, hey, I want to do this. I want to work with you, okay? Basically, you're starting warm. You're not starting cold. You can use this starting cold, okay? There's no doubt about it. But the fact is, the way we operate is you generally are doing a lot of reverse lead generating. So when you have contact with these folks, often they've already been prepared. They've already been preconditioned with certain information related to real estate investing. So Shireen is exactly right. When you pose these questions, you can more easily tap into what they're thinking. Remember, in marketing, there's an old saying: in order to be successful in marketing, you've got to enter into the conversation that's already going on inside their mind. So the conversation inside their mind is, I want to invest. I want passive income. I want to flip properties and make a big chunk of money. All we're doing is we're tapping into that conversation using these language patterns. So Shireen is exactly spot on. Thank you very much. This is Melinda. Okay. I have been Googling this as we talk, and there's a lot out there on the subject. Yeah, there's all kinds of, and by the way, guys, I will tell you, most of my books I get from Amazon. Okay. Every city has Goodwill. I'm sorry, Goodwill. Okay, and Goodwill's in U.S. and Canada, and every year, at least in a large cities, they'll have what's called an annual book sale. All right, and what I do is I just Google them, and if I see the ones coming up, and I'm going to be like in Seattle next week, they'll have it like all week long. I'll go in there to the location and scour their books. You can get books for like 25 cents, and they actually catalog them by subject, Okay, so you're not fumbling through thousands of books aimlessly. That's actually cataloged by subject. And I've walked out of these things with grocery bags full of books for like a few dollars. Most of them I do get on Amazon. I also use Audible. Audible is part of Amazon. And the reason is not just because I spend a lot of time on the road. I can listen to books on tape through Audible. But I've also discovered this, and you might want to write this down. It turns out we all are kind of wired somewhat the same. We have different learning styles. However, as a rule, there are certain books that some of us are better off reading in print, actually holding a book in our hands, and there are other books that actually are okay for us to listen to audibly. In other words, we're learning, and we're basically, it's auditory learning at that point. It's strictly audible, okay? When you're reading, you're actually using multiple senses. You're obviously reading, and you're imagining the words, you're playing the words in your mind, which is a form of listening, believe it or not. And you're also using your eyes. So there's multiple, plus you're holding the book, okay? I always thought I could only be a reader, physically reading books. Turns out there are certain books, and the books that for me work on Audible, in listening to books on tape, are the ones that are somewhat technical in nature, not very complex, but something like this, these language patterns. I can listen to this stuff all day long in a car, and it works, okay? So what I want to suggest to you is think about your learning style and think about the books you like to read. If you're reading fiction books, a lot of times those are great to just read and you hold in your hand. But if you're studying something and learning something, you can do both. Get the printed version and the audio version, and it really will enhance your learning experience. Just know that. I've had people tell me that, and boy, is it true. Okay, I would love to get a reading list for books on language patterns. So let's work on that, Dennis. I will, if I can kind of remember all the books I've read, I will give you guys a list, and I will tell you this. Maybe I'll work on that for Christmas. I'll come up with a comprehensive list of all the books and courses I've taken over the last 31 years, and it's pretty comprehensive. You'd be surprised at how much is in there. Any case, okay, let's see. This is Michelle. Michelle was asking, okay, Half Price Bookstore also. Yeah, Michelle, I've used Half Price Books too. Hoopla has free Audible books. This is for Mark. Thanks, Mark. Playster offers 100,000 books for the same price as Audible per month, but Audible only gives you 1 credit for 1 book. Yeah, I've heard that too, Mark. My kids give me Audible every year for Christmas. That's why I've been using it. But I've heard a lot of people say a lot of positive things about Playster. So I appreciate all you guys sharing all these possibilities here. Okay, let's do this. We did just suppose, so again, come up with a couple of examples, three examples of using just suppose, all right? And remember, you always use your rapport skills first to learn what that person's values are. In other words, learn about that person, what makes them tick, and you can incorporate them in your language patterns. And actually, that's what Shireen tapped into. Is if you know something about the person, okay, their values, in other words, you can basically structure your language patterns and incorporate them, those values in your language patterns. Okay. All right. Let's do at least one more here. Maybe we'll try 2 more. And I'll still, if we don't get to all these guys, we can continue this. If you guys really like this type of subject, we'll do it again next week. We can't do it next week because we've got Carl Fisher on from CAMA, who's going to talk to you about buying real estate investment properties from inside a self-directed IRA. So you guys definitely want to be on that because he's going to give you information, websites to access, and his own personal contact information for you to share with your clients. And it'll help you get more business. So just remember that. That's next week. Maybe the week after we can go back to language patterns. But let's try to do at least one more here. And this is called the what would happen if pattern. Okay, and here's the basic format. What would happen if, and then you supply your outcome, what it is you're looking for, okay, because, and then you also then insert their value, which is kind of what we just talked about. So the pattern is this: what would happen if, and you can put a parentheses here. In parentheses, you name your pattern, your outcome, excuse me, the outcome you're looking for, and then the word because, and after that another set of parentheses with these 3 words. insert their value. So this does require you to establish rapport again, and like I said, they all do. You understand what their values are. You know what outcome is you're looking for. So let's just give an example from the real estate world. I'm sorry, from the military world, and then we'll come up with one from the real estate world. Okay, so military example. What would happen if you joined up because you want that sense of commitment, all right, because you want that sense of contribution to society? Or how about another one? How about this one? What would happen if you enlisted because you know that you're be getting the training that you need that's going to follow you the rest of your life, okay? So I kind of like that one better because I'm not a big fan of using the same word twice in a short period of time. In the first example I gave you, we're using the word because a couple times. The second one I like better. So in any case, what would happen if you enlisted because you know that you'll be getting the training that you need that's going to follow you the rest of your life? So let's see if we can come up with a pattern for real estate, all right? So what would happen if you worked with me so that I could help train you, all right, the training that you need to invest correctly and training that you could use for the rest of your life? In other words, I would be teaching you how to fish, not just giving you the fish. Instead of you buying a fish, I want to teach you how to catch your own fish. I mean, I use that a lot because it ties back to scriptures, and it's also that's why we're here. It's far more respectful for me to teach you than to just do things for you, right? I could just give you the patterns and give you all the marketing material, which we do to a degree, but it's more valuable for you to have me teach you. So in any case, let's look for some examples here. Again, I'll go back to the one I just gave you. What would happen if you decided to let me teach you and train you how to invest in real estate, and you'd be getting what you need, and then you would have that training with you for the rest of your life, okay? So let me go back to the bottom here. Hang on one second. Let's see. Okay, let me go back. I'm sorry, I want to make sure I got all these. So Mark is saying, back to the books. Mark is saying he does use both. He uses books and Audible. I use both or all three. Oh, he's talking about the suppliers. I'm sorry, the vendors. Okay, library sales are the best source I've found for paper and Audible books. Actually, it's a good point, Shereen. I've also gone, every year local libraries will basically try to thin out their inventory and get rid of old books that have been maybe tattered or they're not being checked out as much. You can often get them very, very inexpensively, so thanks for the suggestion there. Okay, and Andrew is asking this, okay, or suggesting this, I'm sorry. Here's the pattern. What would happen if you and your family, if you could gain financial freedom from using other people's money through investment rental properties? Oops, I want to make sure I got that right. Hang on one second. Okay, so let me repeat that. This is from Andrew. Thank you, Andrew. What would happen for you and your family if you could gain financial freedom from using other people's money through investing in rental properties? That's good. That's a good one, yeah. Okay, and this is from Dennis. Thank you, Dennis. So Dennis is proposing this one for an example. What would happen if we purchased your first duplex in the next 3 months because your goal is to start down the road. Dennis, I got to start over. For some reason, this thing's getting real choppy here. All right, what would happen if we purchased your first duplex in the first 3 months because your goal is to start down the road to financial independence? Yeah, I really like that one, Dennis, because you know why? You actually you planted a seed, which is a firm time frame. You drew some parameters around it, so you didn't just leave it open-ended. Now, you probably got that because the person probably told you, hey, I'd like to have my first property in 3 months, or I'd like to have 4 properties in the next 12 months. And mathematically, that means 1 every 3 months, okay? So that's a real good example. I really like that one, Dennis. Okay, looks like we're caught up on questions and suggestions. So let's do this. It's about 4 minutes till. Let's do one more. Let's do one more, okay, and then we'll call it a day. And you can kind of figure out the next one on your, actually, the last two the more you X, the more you Y, the less you X, the less you Y. Actually, that should say less here, sorry. These are my own notes, so please forgive me. And yes, I'm going to be sharing this with you through Beverly. Okay, next pattern here is this. The don't unless you want to pattern. Okay, don't, in parentheses, the action or objection that the person may or may have or may be coming up with, okay? And then your outcome that you want. So you're basically reversing this. You're putting your outcome second and their objection first. Not the emotional response you're looking for, but their potential objection. Whoops. So here it is, okay? Basically what you're doing is this. Don't object unless you want to go my way, okay? It's sort of a quirky little language pattern. When I first learned this, I thought, well, I'm not so sure about this, okay? In fact, logically, it doesn't really make sense. You know, but as you gain rapport, all right, and you're feeding back to their values, you're going to find this pattern actually has a lot of power, okay? So the basic thing is this. The interesting thing, the reason it works is this. It ties someone into going your way. If they go your way, they go your way. If they object, they still go your way. It's just kind of a quirky little thing here. So let's look at an example, all right? Military example. Don't walk out there unless you're committed to enlist, okay? In other words, what you're saying is don't leave unless you're willing to enlist. I know it sounds kind of strange, but what happens is you're basically kind of cutting through the conscious into the subconscious. So here's another one, all right? Don't think about this for too long unless you really want to take charge of your life and really want to have control of your future. So for real estate, you know, have a lot of people who want to invest. You work with them, you get them down to the point where they've actually got to swing the bat and hit the ball, and they hesitate. They're just not. It's typical. It's not the right time. I don't I'm scared to use the money. All these things. All right. So let's think about this. All right. Don't think about this too long, unless you really want to, right? And have real estate that'll change your life, and you really want to have financial freedom. All right. So what it is you're acknowledging their potential action or objection, but you're tying it back to your desired outcome. I know it's quirky, but for some reason it works, okay? So again, the example for real estate would be, you know, don't think about this too long unless you really want to acquire a duplex that allow you to gain financial freedom, all right? So in any case, that's the pattern there. Let me check back here and see if we have any suggestions. Right, this is from Heidi. Thanks, Heidi, for the example here. Okay. Oh, this is from the last pattern. Okay, what would happen if you learn to invest properly and you grew your financial portfolio? That's pretty good, because what it does is it gets them to think. They're starting to imagine investing properly and growing their financial portfolio. Okay. Okay, let's see. We had another question here. Oh, here it is. All right. I don't find the language of sales book. There is a book called The New Language of Sales. Who was the author? The Language of Sales is actually a training course, Kristen. The teacher's name is Joel Rico. So he, at least when I knew him, he was a KW guy, but my understanding is he went independent. The program he teaches is now an independent program. So he teaches any age and anywhere. And really, he actually teaches people from multiple industries. He's from California, real good guy, and so he figured out that he could apply what he's teaching to multiple industries. So that's why he, went out and started going independent. He may still be in KW, I don't know, but a lot of us will do that. I mean, we realize that what we have is applicable to many walks of life and applicable to people from multiple companies. So in any case, I'll see if I can find something on that, Kristen, and I'll share that with the group. I'll just send out a group email, or I'll have Beverly do it for me. Melinda, you just wrote the word Don, but there's nothing else in your message. Oh, here's the rest of it. I'm sorry. It just sound Don. Oh, Kristen says found him. Okay. Yeah, www.joelrico.com. JOELRICO, joelrico.com. Real good guy. Okay, let's see. Here's another example. Okay, don't think about this too long unless you want to miss the opportunity to learn how to create monthly cash flow that will let you leave the desk job you said you hated. Ooh, who was that? That was Melinda. Melinda, that's a good one. That actually, I always try to focus on the positive, but I will tell you, and Joel will tell you the same thing. For some reason, human nature, when you tap into someone's, in this case, I'll call it a fear, the job they hate, it's very powerful. It's, fear is the number one motivator in the human experience. I always try to, because I'm a minister, I'm always trying to uplift people and use uplifting methods to achieve results. However, I can't deny the fact that if you tap into something that people feel very passionately about, even if it's a negative thing, it actually really works very well, probably better than anything else. So that's a pretty darn good example there. So thank you very much for sharing that. Okay, guys, let's do this. If you could do me a favor, I want you to do a little bit of homework. All right, I want you to practice these. Just write them out, and if you want to practice them with live prospects and clients, please do so. Just take it slow at first. Do maybe the first couple, the easy ones first. Then you can work into the more complex ones. Let me also know if you really liked this tonight. I know most of what we do is focused on, calculations, analyzing properties, marketing campaigns, but we've had a lot of questions on this, and I thought I should go ahead and do a webinar just on language patterns. I think I need to do another one, but I want to have your feedback to tell me, yes, you enjoy this and you'd like to do more. And maybe what we'll do is we'll leave more time open for open role play. So, but before we go, I just want to say thank you guys for participating. I hope you had an awesome 4th of July. If you're in Canada, I hope you had an awesome Canada Day on Saturday. It was Canada's 150-year anniversary. I was there. And then I flew back to Boise, Idaho early Tuesday morning, drove to Bend, Oregon, and got to have a great old time in Bend, Oregon with the fireworks there. Real quick, let me give you my schedule real quick. Okay, so next week, I will be in Seattle on Monday and part of Tuesday. Then I have to fly all the way to Tampa, Florida to be in my own mastermind group for 2 days. And then I'm going to spend the weekend down there. Coming back to Seattle, I'll be in Seattle the 17th, 18th, and 19th. I'll be in Spokane on the 20th, and I'll be in Bozeman, Montana on the 21st. After that, I've got North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, and Iowa in the last week of July. Okay, I am going to take off the first week of August for vacation. I may still do a webinar. I'm not sure. Generally, we try to do 48 of these a year. So far this year, I don't think we've missed a single one. However, when I do travel, guys, personally, I do take calls. So if you're stuck on something, if you're ever stuck on anything, like a transaction that you're right in the middle of negotiating and it's critical, please text me. Just that tells me it's more urgent, and I will get back to you as ASAP, like as soon as I'm out of class. So, in any case, you guys are awesome. Oh, we got one more. Let me see who this is. Melinda. Did we already go to that? Yeah, we did Melinda's. Okay, I thought there were. Here it is, Mark. Okay. As a trained psychologist, I thought this was excellent. Thank you. Mark, you're very welcome. I had no idea you were a trained psychologist, but I'm not. So I appreciate your comment, and I hope that this helps you in your business. Okay. So Jeff was saying this was very useful and practical. Will there be a copy of these notes available? Yes. So I'm going to send these out, Jeff, through Beverly. So let's see. I had a specific example in mind about that golden hook. Would you role play that with me quickly? Yes. Okay, so Shireen, I'm going to unmute you. If you guys want to stay on, I'm going to unmute Shireen. So hang on one second here. Shireen, let me get back to the attendee panel. Okay, Shireen, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Hot diggity dog. Okay, so let's just pretend I'm a prospect. Actually, you tell me what is the relationship here? Am I a new prospect? Am I an existing client? Kind of give me a little background and we'll do this.
Honestly, it doesn't even matter.
Okay.
Because I think what I have in mind, provided I know just one detail about you is going to work with almost everyone. So if you were the prospect, can we just start down that list as if we're coming in into a conversation? So if
Yes.
I was to see you and say, "Hey, Gary, how have you been? How's the family?"
Yep. I would say wonderful, Shereen. I appreciate you asking. We had an awesome Canada Day weekend, and I got to see everybody. Got to go to church, and it was very, very refreshing. Thank you. How's your family?
They're great. You know, I am just in love with my family, and I think everybody that's friends with me on Facebook knows it. But I have a question for you.
Hmm.
Have you found that it's expensive raising these kids?
Oh yeah, let me tell you. I spent both of my children went to out-of-state private colleges, and I started saving day one, the day they were born, in the stock market and eventually the real estate market. And I still did not have enough money to get both of them through college. I came pretty close, but we're talking several $100,000, you know. So yes, it's quite expensive.
So even with that planning, would it be fair to say that you think that your expenses are going to continue to go up?
Oh yeah, especially when you start talking about weddings for your children. Yeah, yeah, and new homes and things like that. Absolutely, yeah.
Exactly. And then grandchildren.
That's right. I want to. And actually, I've already started college funds for my grandchildren. I don't even have grandchildren yet, but I've already started them.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Just suppose I could show you how you could work less, possibly even quit your job, and make the money that you want to make to be able to support that college fund, weddings, graduations, whatever you choose to spend your money on.
Well, now you've got my interest. You've got me intrigued. Yeah.
Okay, so what would happen if I showed you exactly what I do to help investors to be able to either flip houses for income or acquire rental property?
Well, I would be interested in that because I think what you're suggesting is I can use that additional cash flow to offset some of these other expenses.
I think so too. Now, do you have anything that you think might hold you up?
Well, there's always, like fear, like lack of knowledge. Like I just, I know other people do this obviously because I know people pay rent. Wherever people pay rent, I mean somebody owns that property. I just don't know what's involved. Maybe that's not me. Maybe that's not for me, I guess is what I'm saying. I just don't know. So how do you know?
Don't be afraid to jump in unless you really want to move forward and make income that you never even dreamed you could make.
Ooh, that was good, Shireen. Yeah. Don't be afraid. You just tapped into the most fundamental emotion that most humans have, which is fear.
We can stop there. I mean, we don't have to go through the whole list. I was just thinking
Yeah.
these are all a natural lead and will work together. So if you're compounding language skills
Hmm.
with leading language, then people won't even realize if you're doing it conversationally that you're literally leading them by the nose. Um,
Yeah.
and I think kids for almost everyone is a huge lead in. That was what I was talking about the one detail you need to know. If you're talking to a tried and true bachelor, clearly you're going to have to find another angle to bring these conversational pieces into. But I think when you start involving family and
Hmm.
especially kids, um, people's interest goes way up, like through the roof.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. In fact, I'll tell you what, guys, I've got a really good, a new strategy for you for workshops. We came up with this. I think he was in North Atlanta. He's one of our students, stay-at-home dad. Cannot remember his name to save my life. We did a strategy call a while back, and here's what we did. We created uh, I think it was North Atlanta Investors Forum for parents of preschool children. Man, you'd have thought we invented the pizza, because what do parents of preschool children often think about happening, 18 years down the road, right? Yeah. So you tap into that the whole thing about coming up with all that money, and you can say, look, pick up a duplex, triplex, fourplex. In 18 years, the thing will likely double or triple in value. You can cash out some of the equity to pay tuition and keep the property, of course. So the monthly cash flow will help offset your child's room and board, you know. And you just tapped, Shireen, you just tapped into something that was fundamentally probably would appeal to half of the population. It's that powerful. So, and these language patterns, you also tapped on something else more very important is these are designed to be used in conjunction with each other. And the way that I laid them out here, you just literally did a perfect job. Is I laid them out in a fashion that from simple to more complex, but also walking through a normal conversation. Because at the end of the day, we're really not trying to fool anybody or trick anybody. We're just simply trying to help them come to the conclusions that we know they want to come to. That we know that they want to provide financing for their child's college, right? How do we get them to see their way to doing that? This is how we do it. If we can't get them into work with us to buy properties, there's no way we can serve them. The only way we can serve them is to use these techniques to help people come to their own conclusions, which is really all we're doing. So that was an awesome example. So I hope you all were paying attention to that, and that is being recorded. So if Shireen, you're okay, everybody will get the recording of this, and they can perhaps use that in their own efforts and build on that.
Sure. I think I, linguistics are sort of my wheelhouse, so I always enjoy when I can figure out how to best apply that. And
Yeah,
I think these patterns would be very, very effective for just, like you said, nobody wants to fool anybody,
yeah,
but if I could make somebody realize that instead of putting money into something that may or may not pay off or into an effort that won't go as far or isn't as tried and true as real estate, then if I can say just exactly what you were talking about, if you buy this duplex, then years down the road you can cash out some equity, pay their tuition, and you're still going to have some income. I think that would be very attractive to almost any parent in the world.
yep, yep. I agree. And the thing is you'd be amazed at how many of the people in that demographic and social graphic are more likely to be agreeable to this as an approach. Because remember, they're like I'm 54 years old. I've been through several cycles, economic cycles. Um, I definitely do not trust the stock market, but I'm not afraid to invest in it either. However, a lot of the folks that are in their 30s or younger, remember what they saw back in the early, mid, and late 2000s. You know, huge. I mean, it nearly brought the country down. So that's their first real experience in the adult world when it comes to Wall Street. And believe me, they're far more agreeable to something they can feel and touch and see than they are to something that they have no control over. That's just something we've noticed in that demographic. They're more agreeable to doing this. So thank you for sharing that. Now Fossil says, Gary, you're amazing. Thank you, Fossil. Now Fossil knows me quite well, and we've become friends. I'm just a regular person, and I appreciate you saying that. So Dennis is saying, okay, this was a great hour spent. I would love to do more and get a list of books. Okay, I agree, Dennis. I think this was a good one, and we'll certainly get a list of books going. Mark Hamilton, cutting it to the individual self-interest. I think that's in response to what you just went through, Shireen. So thank you, Mark, for that comment. Excuse me. And Melinda is saying outstanding, and I agree, Melinda. Shireen just basically nailed it. I mean, just basically that's the grand slam home run there. So Okay, guys, it is a quarter after. Looks like we've gotten through all the comments and questions. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you for participating. I look forward to next week. Remember, next week is the 10th, and that's where Carl Fisher is going to be on talking about CAMA and investing in real estate from inside a self-directed IRA. Really hot topic, has been for quite a while. I hope you all have an awesome, awesome rest of the week and an awesome weekend coming up. And I will see you next. Oh, wait a minute, one more question. Okay, Brian says, good class with final role-playing exercise. Brian, you're very welcome. So we'll do this one again second half of July. Seems like there's a lot of positive feedback on this. And I appreciate that. Okay, you guys have an awesome evening. And Shireen, thank you particularly for sharing your example and doing the role-playing. Okay?
Thank you for letting me.
You're welcome. All right, you guys take care of yourselves. God bless each of one of you. Okay? Bye-bye.